Hi everybody, it's Laurie, and I'm here to talk to you about the advantages of using Google Scholar and why I suggest you use Google Scholar to do your literature searches for your capstone projects instead of using JSTOR or EBSCO. Or perhaps I'll say instead of. I believe that all of you have been very well versed in using JSTOR and EBSCO, and so if that is a tool that feels comfortable to you, please feel free to proceed. But I'm going to take this opportunity in this video to show you some of the strengths in particular of Google Scholar, as well as some of the limitations. From there, I will make a couple more supplement videos, one about browsing journals and other ways that you can kind of find your literature. Okay, so what I'll say, and I'll say this in all of the videos, is that the goal of literature searches is to find the conversation that your project is a part of. Most of us tend to, when we're starting a project, think about the conversation being specific to the sample. But that is not the case, right? And so for instance, let's say like I study young adults, right? And if you are looking in Google Scholar for information about young adults, you're going to get information from family researchers. You're going to be getting psychology. You're going to be getting criminology and criminal justice. You're going to be getting some sociology. You're going to be getting social work. You're going to be getting higher ed and K-12 compulsory education information. And so like all of that is in fact true of young adulthood. Or people who study young adults, right? But that doesn't mean that those are the conversations that I need to be in. Those are not the conversations I need to be in, right? And so the more specific that you get, so for instance, like let's say that you want to look at student loan debt and stratification, if I could spell it, F-I-C-H-A-N, inequality, sociology, right? And if you'll notice, I do what I would call a kitchen sink approach to putting information in the toolbar or in the search bar, right? That I, try to narrow that down. And then lo and behold, right, with all of this kitchen sink stuff, this is actually the information that would be relevant to a project that I was doing, right? And I happen to know just because I am familiar with this literature, right? But it's like, oh yeah, Jason Huell, like he is definitely somebody who is writing in the sociology of student debt. Anne McDaniel, someone else who is writing in the sociology of student debt. And we'll talk kind of about what that is. So I also wanted to point out that another reason I like Google Scholar for searches is that it is an interface that we are familiar with. Most of us, we have learned EBSCO and we have learned JSTOR, but this is the way that we try to seek out information, right? Googling or some kind of general search engine is how we try to seek out the information that we need, or at least that we're curious into, and so that is why I would use Google Scholar. And so I will point out here that it is scholar.google.com, so you want to make sure when you start that you have this Google Scholar and not necessarily just Google, right? Because Google Scholar is going to give you information specific to Google. Specific to academia. So some other real big features of Google Scholar that makes it very exciting to me. You can definitely sort by date or limit the range. So eventually you will see in your capstone assignment that we want you citing things that are either canonical or recent. And so that means like, you can cite Marx, you can cite Durkheim, Weber, Du Bois, all those people, even though they wrote many years ago, because that's conversations that sociologists are still having. But otherwise, you'll want things that are kind of in the current conversation, right? And so you can say, like, hey, give me everything in the last 10 years. So I want to see everything, and let's put it in the way that we actually use years, from 2012 to 2021. You can also, kind of make sure that you can search by, so you can have like, do you want review articles? Do you want any type? You can kind of go through with preferences more to make sure that you are just putting in peer-reviewed articles, right? And so I will say that perhaps the bad thing about Google is it casts a much wider net than EBSCO or JSTOR, right? So if you're using EBSCO or JSTOR, they're going to look only specifically in this set of publications that librarians have told them are of interest to sociologists. So sometimes the librarians get that wrong, right? And so they're actually going to be searching things that may actually not be interesting to sociologists or literature conversations that we are a part of. But they are going to filter out a lot more stuff that Google is not going to filter out. And so if you're using Google Scholar, then you'll have to like make sure that you're looking at research instead of, say, grant proposals or theses or other kinds of things that might get pulled up. Okay. I'm going to talk about just a couple more features. I'm trying to be mindful of keeping these videos short, but there are kind of two things that I super appreciate about Google Scholar. So the first thing is that the most important thing about a scholarly conversation is that people are engaging with one another, right? And so you want to look, like Google Scholar allows, if you go to this kind of, this metric here, cited by, you can right click and in a new tab, open up all of the articles that cite this article. So for instance, if like, you know that Jason Hewell is going to be part of the research that you're doing and his research seems to be interesting, then who is citing that? And you can either just search within those articles. So let's say that like you want to look at housing, so something related to housing within that, and so that'll just pull that up. Or let's say you want to look something specific about stratification, just within these Hewell articles. Yes, right, like how can I spell stratification wrong? I don't know. It happens like daily though. And so you can look and see. So for instance, like here, I'm going to pull this up as an example. So another big feature of Google Scholar is that particularly if you are on campus, I am not on campus right now because I'm still in our COVID isolation period. But if you are on campus, there will be these opportunities to like click over here. And if there's something on this column on the right-hand side, it will take you specifically to PLU's ownership if you're logged into your ePass through the library. So you don't have to try to hunt down the article, which is nice. However, so I clicked on this one particularly because I was talking about the filter of Google research. So this, the BYU Undergraduate Journal of Psychology. This isn't actually a peer-reviewed journal. It's just like in BYU, everybody puts, they just like kind of publish this, right? So it's like basically a paper that they have published. And, you know, kind of talks about, you know, so this is something that you can read and be informed by. However, it is not something that is peer reviewed, and so it wouldn't count as like official research, right? And a lot of the ways that you can tell that this is true, it's just with like the typesetting, right? If it looks like a paper, anything that's in a journal is not going to look like that. So let's say that you go instead to this. Oh wait, I have to move myself to do this. So you go up here to this grandparent wealth. If you wait and see, so the typesetting here, right, is just going to be more, oh, nope, see, that is also a, oh, Joey Brown, he's fantastic. So this is his PhD thesis. And so you would want to find not just his PhD thesis, but instead you would want to find like academic work for him. And so one way that you could do that is that you could go and look Joey Brown, sociology, debt, and okay, it looks like he doesn't have anything published yet, so let's find Jason Hewell. So, you know, kind of back to Hewell, like you can see here, like Sociology of Education, that's a journal, Sociology of Education, Race and Social Problems. So finding things that are that way. So we talked about the backward citations. That's super important. We talked about the ability to find things online. I'll say that, you know, kind of like another thing that is to me a really good feature of Google Scholar beyond just the use is this, like, you know, it can give you the related articles. It gives you access to it right away if you want. There really just isn't there isn't a bad way to go. The problems, okay, as I've, I just want to be explicit about that. I think I've said them both over time. The main problems, it doesn't filter out as much for you. So you have to do more work in the filtering. And then the second problem that you deal with Google Scholar is that, oh my gosh, I forgot what I was going to say. Hold on, I'm going to pause for a second while I think about it. And of course, like the second I hit pause, it like reminds me, right, of like what I was going to say. But anyways, the other thing that it doesn't do, or that might be like more of a bug of it, is that you do have to have more specific search terms. And so, for instance, when I'm searching for things, I always put sociology in the bar. I'm always looking for stuff around inequality, so I'll always put inequality in the bar as well. But that's just going to help, for instance, that will limit, the information around, right? So that it'll make sure that it's there. There are all kinds of tricks about searching for Google. I'm not going to go through these, but maybe I'll put something on our Sakai in terms of how you can use like quotes or pluses or, kind of different like search hacks, and all of the search hacks, if you do know them, that are useful in Google kind of regularly are also useful in Google Scholar. And so, I guess my challenge to you is, and again, don't get too far out of your wheelhouse if this feels overwhelming and you feel comfortable with EBSCO and JSTOR and, the PLU library web searches, then that's fine. If you don't think that you have it in you to kind of filter out, then that's perfectly okay as well. If this feels like it might be a useful tool for you, then I would highly suggest using Google Scholar. I think it does a good job at gaining research, accumulating research for you. So the next thing that I'm going to make a video about for us, and I'll try to have this posted in the next couple days, is searching through browsing, or I guess browsing instead of searching. So I'll make a short video about that. And then I'll also make a video around how to know when you've identified your literature that is like the right literature for your, that you should build your literature review or your argument on. So thank you all very much. And I hope this is helpful, and happy searching, reading the articles and seeing what ideas and what kind of information is out there, to me, is the funnest part. It's kind of like all the detective work before you actually solve the mystery. So enjoy. Bye.